Oh, well, hi everybody. Welcome back. Or if you're new, welcome. So, today I want to talk about the sun in astrology, in astronomy, and ourselves. You know how it goes. So, the Greeks called him Helios, the Romans called him Sol. Not just the Romans, but we all know that, like, Roman mythology is kind of pieced together from other cultures, and they made their own because they were the biggest. They could do that. In Egyptian mythology, it is known as Ra. It wasn't until like the 4th or 5th century BC that Apollo became associated with the sun god. That's why we have like Sol and Apollo in Roman mythology. But Apollo originally pulled the chariot for Sol, the sun god. And that's one of the things that we see in mythology when it comes to the sun god is he's in a chariot. A couple of the epithets used for the sun or the sun god are Hyperion and Phaethon. Hyperion being the one above, and Phaethon being the shining, like photons, light. That's where it comes from. So Hyperion, the one above, is like the father. And Phaethon, the shining one, is the sun. Sound familiar? Sun gods were always depicted with a halo or a crown of some sort. They were all-seeing gods. They knew everything. They saw everything. You couldn't hide from them. Ra and Helios were called the eye of heaven. It makes sense, right? Since the sun is in the sky and it kind of looks like an eye, and the sky being heaven. And like I said, they flew across the sky in their chariot. Ra had a boat, if I'm not mistaken, because the sun during the day comes across the sky, right? So they're like, oh, it must be pulled by a chariot. And the reason that gold is the most precious metal is because the sun is gold. So humans thought, oh, this is the same color as the thing that gives us life, so it must be the most precious. They mostly kept to themselves. You didn't see them interacting a lot with the other gods and goddesses. They didn't interact a whole lot with humans. They just kind of pulled their chariot and went to sleep at night or fought whatever monster they had to fight. And that was that. As far as our sun goes, like the sun in our solar system, it's a star. It's not a planet. It's a star. It's the center of the solar system. Its gravity holds the rest of the solar system together. It produces its own energy, meaning it produces its own light. Because energy makes heat, makes light, that kind of thing, right? None of the planets make their own light. Anytime you see a planet in the sky, it's because that planet is reflecting the light of the sun. What does this mean for us? You may have heard Dr. Phil say something like the fiber of our being, right? Who we are at our core. That's the sun. If you think of each one of us as being our own solar system, the sun is at the center. That's the core of our being, who we are, the fiber of our being, the core of our existence, the core of our person, however you want to say it. That's the center. That's the thing that makes it what it is, right? You can't have a solar system with no star in the center for the planets to orbit around. So the sun is who we are at our center. The planets going around, those are the aspects of ourselves, right? Mercury is our mind, Venus is our emotions, Mars is our temperament. All of those things revolve around the center. They revolve around who we are. So just like the planets in the solar system reflect the sun's light, our own personal planets in astrology reflect our sun's light. Our Venus, our Mars, our Mercury reflects who we are at our core. Our moon, which we're going to talk about later. Basically, if there's one thing I wish people would get when it comes to the sun is think about the sun in the solar system. It doesn't like try to do anything, right? Yes, it creates its own energy, it creates its own light, it's self-sustaining, but it doesn't like intentionally do those things. That's just the way it is. We are who we are. We don't have to try to exist. The sun doesn't have to trade anything to get anything. It takes up its space, it shines its light, it produces its energy, and there's no give and take with any other planets, stars, anything else. We exist, and we don't need permission from anyone else to do so. We don't have to make an exchange with anybody else to do so. We don't have to, like, there's such a, society puts so much pressure on us from the time we become aware of the world around us, that we can't get anything unless we give something, that there has to be some sort of sacrifice of part of who we are in order to receive the things we need, or just in order to exist and take up space. And that's just not true. That's not how it works. And that feeling of, I don't deserve this, or I haven't earned this, is all something that's been, it's a condition. You've been conditioned to think that way, to respond that way, to feel that way. What if you felt like you needed to give something in order to get oxygen? Like if you felt like you had to sacrifice part of yourself just to breathe? That would be ridiculous, right? In the same way, you don't have to try to dim your shine. You don't have to pull back on who you are or any of those things because somebody else doesn't like it or somebody else thinks you should be this way or that way. You can't change who you are. You can change your behavior, sure. You can work with your emotions to make them more manageable. You can do things to focus your mind more. You can work with your Mars to get your temper in check, or let your temper out a little bit more and not be so passive aggressive, right? You can do you can do work with the other planets. You cannot, but those are the behaviors, okay? Those are just the behaviors. They're not who you are. You cannot change who you are. Well, hang on a second. So like in psychology, if something traumatic happens to you, like a seriously traumatic event, it can change your core person. It can affect the fibers of your being. Just like if the sun got hit by some giant asteroid or another star, that would change the physical makeup of the sun, right? Okay. Barring something like that happen to us, we're not gonna change. Like, we are who we are, and we have every right to exist like that. It's kind of silly for when you think about one of the other planets or a star that's like in another galaxy trying to tell the sun what to do. Like, hey sun, you shouldn't shine this way. I don't like your color. I don't like the heat you give off, or you need to give off more heat. Do you think the sun is even bothered by that? No. It's just going to keep doing what it's doing, what it's been doing for millions and billions of years, and going to keep doing for millions and billions of years, and that's that. So that's what I want people to know about the sun. It's who you are. It doesn't, like, it's not in relation to anything else. It just is. You just are. That is perfect the way it is.